And then finish this one. All right. All right. So ministry side of high school baseball umpiring. Okay. Oh, first off, too, if you the registration is still open, so if you haven't registered for, if you're planning to come to the clinic on Saturday at Belvedere, there's still time. I'm going to deal with some of that stuff after the call tonight. Close down registration, but you have until I'm done talking, I guess, to register. You can still register for Wheaton. That's kind of picked up this week. It was kind of slow, but then we almost doubled the number of people coming Saturday just the last 3 days. So um, I think it helps if Kyle sends an email because everybody likes Kyle's better than they like me. So everybody's used to kissing his ass and nobody kisses mine. So that's people respond to his email. During the season when he sends a text message out and gets 20 replies and I send a text message out and nobody replies, that's when I realize that he's way more famous than I am. So all right, so preseason responsibilities. We're kind of there now, right? Um, so for IHSA responsibilities, this is big for me as an assigner. Um, they crack down on people working without having all their requirements done with the IHSA. So 2 years ago, um, it became a problem. Kurt Gibson took over the officiating department, right? So for the first time, they have a person where their sole job is to run the officiating department at the IHSA. So somebody's paying way closer attention to all this stuff and a lot of stuff that's been just kind of brushed under the rug for forever. So the one thing is, the onus used to be on the school that if they hired an umpire that did not have his all his requirements that I just say done, the school got sanctioned. They not really, but they gave them put them on probation and these kind of things, right? The schools got mad because they go, well, we hire an assigner. The assigner sends the officials to us. Why do we have to confirm and check that? Um, so the schools ran a referendum or bylaw amendment or whatever they call them, and said, do you so and all the schools are voting? It's like, do you think the schools should be responsible or the assigner should be responsible? And of course, they said the assigner should be responsible. So they changed the bylaw. So now, if if a game that I'm assigning, if I assign an umpire to that game that is not fully licensed and gone through everything, if they're missing going to a clinic, even though they've been an umpire for 20 years, or they didn't take their concussion test, um, I get sanctioned personally. Like I personally can't work the playoffs if I assign an umpire to a not certified umpire to a game. Um, so now there's checks and there's a lot of things that we do to make sure. Um, Actually, in our spreadsheet that we assign, if you're not certified with the IHSA, which we cross reference on a daily basis during the season, your name turns pink, and we know. And then that's reach out to you to make sure you get your stuff done. And there's a place I can check to make sure you have all what you have done and what you don't have done, and then what you need to do. And I can't give you a game until you're clear. So this time of year, we'll give you a schedule. There's a lot of people. I think all of us will show that we're not ready because we haven't done the test yet, the part one test yet. But all these pops up. So you haven't watched a rules video, you haven't taken the part one test. You don't. Background checks are part of your license. You agree to that when you pay your fee. You have to check a box saying you agree to being background checked. There's the concussion test you have to do once every 3 years, and there's a hate speech test that you have to do once every 3 years as well. It's rolling from whatever you get it done. You're good for that year. Then in the next three, and you have to stay on top of that. Those aren't hard things to do, but it's just extra things you don't think of. um, and then just your postseason availability. If you want to work the postseason, you're available. You need to fill that stuff out on the IHSA website. I'm gonna try to show you. part of this presentation, we're going to jump out and look at different places too. So let me get logged in to the IHSA website. Right. Sharing screens here. All right, let's get this out of the way. All right, so you can see this is what it looks like. It's a picture of me from a years past. What it looks like when I log into the IHSA website. So what you should look at here um, for your license is there should be no pink here, right? Um, so you have to go through and fill this out. So I'll do this now by state series availability. I'm going to say no to, or I'll, what the hell? I'll say yes, and I'm only going to work 5 games here. I'll work, say 25 games, so I get all the PowerPoints, and then let's click save, and you see now that part is not pink anymore, right? To get this here, the rules meeting is watch the rules meeting that gives me credit and it changes. And then when I take the part one exam, it'll change to white if I passed it. You can see with me with football. I was going to do football this year. You got a free license. So I was like, yeah, I did football years ago and decided I was going to sign up this year. And then I did not, I decided not to do it. My wife had some medical stuff going on. So I ended up not, didn't have the extra time to do that. So what happened is I did take the part one test. I did not watch the rules video. I didn't attend a clinic. So you can see I'm suspended. So if this is yellow, it means you're on probation. It'll say on there, but probation or suspended. And I have to meet all those requirements to get there. So that means that would be on the IHSA list is I cannot work a game because I haven't met those requirements. I'm going to answer a couple questions. I didn't see them in the chat. Yeah, so if you work other sports, it crosses sports. If you coach a sport and do that, you have to do that stuff too. You just got to make sure it syncs right between your school account and the IHSA account, but it'll filter over. You don't have to do it for every sport. You just got to do it for ACE you just have to do it in general. First year umpire, you're eligible to work the postseason, but you probably won't get one. You have to build up PowerPoints, which is a whole nother thing that it's based on ratings. You only get ratings on varsity games. You're probably not going to work a lot of varsity games this year because you're new. So there's a lot of different things you do, and there's a top 15 list where each coach can build up a top 15 list of umpires. You have to build that percentile up. So it's hard to be a first year umpire at work, but honestly, this year is the best year to be a first year umpire and possibly work the postseason because all the play. So for the first, I don't know if everybody knows this, but the 1A, 2A playoffs and the 3A, 4A playoffs are running at the same time this year. They run on the same schedule. The state finals will be on the same weekend instead of staggered. So they're going to need a lot of guys, right? So if you're a certified umpire, if you're a C, you're probably going to probably get offered a regional. If you're an R, you'll probably get offered a regional. If you're an X that's been around a while, you're probably going to get offered a regional because they'll need umpires. They'll need umpires for those games. So let's see. Yeah, so this year will be interesting. We had a clinician meeting and Sam Knox was in the room and he said, I don't know. I'm going to struggle to. At that point, they were trying to limit the three man on regional games and just keep them two. And they took it to the IHSC board and the board voted it down. So there'll be regionals with 3 guys and they'll be struggling to fill other ones and maybe not so much in our area because we have a concentration of umpires in our area in the Chicagoland area, but like down south where there's everything's more spread out and there's less people, then it could be harder. So um, might get an opportunity if you haven't got an opportunity before, you might get one this year. So all right, we'll switch back. I got to move everything around here. Share my presentation again. All right, everybody can see my presentation now, correct? Okay. Um, got another person here. All right, so assignment availability management. So this is um how you get games and how you maintain your schedule and kind of do's and don'ts of this process. Um, when I when I was done with contracts at the beginning of the year, so in December, I think December ended around Christmas time, we had sent all the contracts out. Guys had picked up games, and I was at 74% of my games were filled for the year. Okay. Right now, um, 2 months later, 68% of my games are filled. Um, there's been some games added, but there's a ton of guys that give a ton of games back. I had a person that had 58 games that were scheduled, give the entire thing back, right? So it's frustrating, right? I understand like things happen, and if your car breaks down or you get sick or those things don't bother me. Like really, like the guys that like are so worried when like an emergency happens. Ah, thanks, Jeff. You're the only one. Let me share one. All right, is that better? Everybody can see the PowerPoint. Tom, Tom, give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Logan, you're the only one with the camera.
Good.
Good. Okay, thank you. Um, if something happens, right? Like Jeff this week, I gave him a game an hour and a half from his house because I didn't realize that it was that far away from. Like, I don't care, right? I know he's going to pick up another game if something pops up, right? I was just trying to be nice. Like his game got canceled where he could get to, and it's like, oh, there's only one game available. I'll just slide them both over, right? And it's way too far, and I don't care, right? It's a mistake. It's not. I'm not. You don't have to drive an out of your way because just because you got the game. Like there's real reasons, and that one didn't bother me even a little bit, right? But it's at last year I had a guy 4 times at 1 o'clock in the afternoon tell me he was in the emergency room. He used the same excuse that many times, like, and like the third time I go again. He goes, "What do you mean again?" I said, "This is the third time, right?" And then you just know, like he's just 130. They would just give a game back, and that puts you in a bind, right? Or yeah, like there's things that happen where you just know you're not honest or there's made up excuses or things, but I know things happen. I know things doctor's appointments get scheduled or something happens with your wife, like no big deal, like reach back, but don't take a ton of games and then hope you can work them and just decide I'm going to give them back, or you take a game and then you have a game from another assigner and you want that game instead and you go do that one. Those are the big no-nos, right? It's gonna make me where I don't trust you to put you on a game. So don't do that stuff because that is hard. It's hard for me, and it's just filling these games is hard enough, and then filling the game 2 or 3 times makes it even tougher. Okay. Um, avoid conflicts of interest. We actually had an AD reach out in the off season this year, asking what we do for. It was a situation where it was like it must have been like an uncle or a dad working a game where his son was involved in. I think it happened in football, but they were kind of asking the ADs were talking like, what do you guys do to avoid that? Right. A lot of stuff is like, I don't know. Like I don't know a lot of people that have ties to schools. Like I know I have ties to Belvedere. Well, I did. I used to coach at Belvedere North High School, so I try to avoid going there. My kid didn't play baseball, but if he did, I wouldn't have worked those games, right? Because if you put yourself like even if you know you can be impartial. Like it just puts you in a spot where it doesn't look like you're impartial. Um, so try to avoid that stuff as much as possible. Let us know. It's like, hey, my kid's playing on the sophomore team at Grays Lake North. And please don't put me on those games because I don't want to do those games with my kid there. So um during the season, replying to emails is super helpful. So when it rains on a Tuesday or rains on a Monday's the worst day for rain because everybody plays on Monday. So I send you you say, yeah, I can work a game. I send you an email saying, hey, confirm this game, right? You are one piece of like 100 in a puzzle to get done. So I need you to say yes so I can say this person can go on this game. Like if you could just respond or text, like just yep, that works, or no, that doesn't work, as quickly as you can helps us get through that process. Um, in the off season, like it's fine. Like I'm gonna if it's a couple days before you email back, that's fine. But like during the season, a quick turnaround is good, just because it's part of the domino process. Um, game wise is picking up games. I'll show you that. I'm going to show you that parts. Let me get to it on the. I'm going to try to share. All right, so now we're back on the FVB website. Click here on the top right, umpire login. Most of you should know how to do this already. Because if you haven't done this yet, you're not on the email list to know that these calls even exist. So, but log in, and here's where you can control your schedule. You can see your schedule. You can you can request games. Um, is most of that is in the assignment portal. Okay, you can view your schedule. These are all the games I have assigned myself for the year so far. Some of them I probably won't work, but I am on there. That's what I'm committed to so far. Um, and then you can view the open games. So if you're looking to pick up a game or see what's available, this is the page that you can do it. You can set the date range, the game type. So really here it's high school baseball or softball or high school baseball or softball. We had somebody last week request like request like 40 games. But he wasn't licensed. You requested 40 baseball games, but he was a softball umpire. So I was excited because he was from Freeport. It's like he is there's my dream to fill Freeport games, and he was a softball umpire instead. Um, so here you can pick by conference, you can pick by game type, you can pick by certain school. So I can only get to Elk Grove High School after work. So let's see if there's any Elk Grove games. You can pick a level. You can pick a sport. We're just gonna do baseball, and we'll do Fox Valley Conference games. So it's going to give me all the games that are open for the Fox Valley Conference all season long. Okay. I can go through and select the ones I want. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go, well, I could work either Crystal Lake or Dundee Ground. I'll check them both. Right. That can throw, like for me, that one's fine. But if you go, you request those, what you have other people do is now they'll go to the Duquesne Conference. Nope, that one's not. They have a game. Nope. I'm gonna find one that has a. Well, that one doesn't make sense. So mid suburban, and now I pick this game, right, and submit. So now if you do this, Jeff Collis gets a request from you from on 317, and I get a request from you on 317. We both assign you a game, and we both send it to you. Now you have two games in one day, right? Only do request one date, one game on what day for a request at a time, just so we don't get you double booked. Some of the clear out is Jeff kind of it fades away, and it between Kevin and I, it'll be a little bit easier. But right now, that makes it kind of confusing. Other things when you request games, um, you shouldn't work. You should be um cognizant of how many times you see the same team. No matter how good of an umpire you are, how good a relationship you have with that school, how close it is to your house, you can't work 15 times at one school throughout the year. Like it's not good for anything because eventually something's going to go wrong, something bad's going to happen. You should jump around and you should try to see other schools. Um, could you work 5 times, 5 freshmen, 5 sophomore, 5 varsity games at a school? Yeah. Like you're not seeing a lot, not seeing the same one over and over, but it's hard, especially like, besides, sometimes with the schools are way out and kind of separated from everything else. We make some exceptions to that, but you shouldn't see the same schools over and over and over again. You should try to spread you out over the gamut of what we have as an assignment group. So um, yeah, so if you limit yourself to just 3 or 4 schools, it's gonna be hard to fill your schedule up. But if you're willing to drive a little bit, we can get you on more games, give you more opportunities as well. That's it for the signing side of it. If you haven't done that yet, once you hit submit on the other screen, the games come to you. Whoever the signer is gets an email saying you request it. Then we go through a process to see if it's still open or somebody else had requested it already, and then approve it and send it to you. Um, then usually right away we upload it to the website, but there could be some delay on that too if we're working our way through a ton of stuff. Um, yeah, so that's how you request a game if you haven't done that yet. That is up to date all the time, right? Whenever I make changes to my file, I upload it right away. So my games are ready to go all the time. Schools add games um, pretty much on a daily basis right now at this point in the season. So actually, my email just went off. So as we were talking, um, there's probably opportunities. So if I would look at this a couple times a week if you're trying to fill some games, especially early in the season when not everybody's working all the time. There's plenty of opportunities out there, but they don't come right away. Um, they're not always there when you look. If you look at it once, there's going to be a ton of more games. Guys give games back. There's the other openings there. So keep checking this website, especially if you're trying to fill up your schedule. All right. So as your game approaches, Alan Paul talked about this a little bit last week. Um, confirm time, confirm time and the locations. You'll get a rolling email. So every day during the season, if you have a game in that day or the next 5 days, you will get an email from our automated email from our system telling you what your schedule is. So look at that email every morning and see where you're supposed to be that day. There might have been a change, didn't get communicated, or you just missed it. You just confirm where you're at that day in the next 5 days. If you're any discrepancies, send them over our way. Um, see if you have a partner in those games. You can look at who your partner is, and you coordinate with them. Kind of keep an eye on the weather. Know what to pack in your car before you leave work if you're not going to go home. What you need to wear to stay warm. Beginning of the season, probably all the way until May, it's cold and it may be maybe 60 degrees at first pitch, but it might be 45 by the end of the day. So looking at that stuff and being ready for it. Um, if you don't have to necessarily email the schools to confirm. You can if you want. They get the same rolling 5-day emails as you do with their schedule. So they should be good on that. You may get emails from schools, um, but if you want to email the AD, you can. Some of the ADs, I know the AD at my school sends an email every week confirming schedules and stuff for games. So If you're running late or you're in traffic, um, communicate communicate with your partner, right? Or at least have that email queued up so you can send an email to the AD at Maringo. Say, hey, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm going to be 10 minutes late. It's better to know that stuff than not. They will have your contact information. We don't give that for schools because just for the the crazy people don't have it, honestly. But you're able to find their email address on the IHSA website. You can email the coach or email the AD and let them know that you're running late. And then communicate with your partner. Alan covered this last week as well, but text message or email. It's like, hey, we're working together tomorrow. What do you want to work? What color you want to wear? Where you're going to park? Are the three main things. What time you're going to be there? Um, if you tell me you're going to be there half hour before the game and it's 29 minutes before the game and you're not there yet, like I start getting antsy, especially if you're going to work the plate. So um, just be honest with it, right? And if I'm running late, it's like, hey, I'm gonna be 10 minutes late. Take the plate or whatever you got to do to get ready. But over communicate if possible with your partner. If you want to contact the schools, you can. But be professional in your emails. Had an issue last year with what it was with one of the ejections. One of my partners sent an email to the AD about it, and it was not well worded, and it caused a stir, and it was probably shouldn't have been said, shouldn't have been done. So be careful what you say and see what the context is with what you say to. So everything you should do is in a professional manner with the school. Um, and it really should be before the game and not so much after the game, right? I could be your liaison between you and the AD or you and the coach if there's an issue, right? The coaches have my information, you have my information. My job is to be the mediator in between, right? So don't um even if you mean well and everything you say is right and you do it professionally, it's going to be taken the wrong way. Just because they have a different interest at that there, so they might see something differently than you did. So just be careful when you send emails to ADs about something that happened in the game, right? If you have to file a rejection report or if there's something really bad, let me know and I can help you through that process. But yeah, just be careful. I saw that bite somebody in the butt last year. Pre-game administrative duties. So you have the conference at home plate, going over the ground rules, going over lineups. Asking if you're properly equipped, asking a trainer and AD question. We covered that last week, but those are things that you got to do that you got to know you got to do every game before you get the game started. Um, During the game, the things you're managing outside of just calling balls and strikes, right? Is sportsmanship, the bench jockey and the weird stuff that happens that you got to enforce, bench conduct, interactions between you and the players and you and the participants, however it goes, coordinate with your partner to make things are going well. Those are all things you got to kind of coordinate and kind of things we've covered most of that stuff already, but there are things that you got to do outside of balls and strikes and saves and outs. Okay. So now this is where, so I was putting this presentation together. It's like, let's go see if I can find some ejection reports throughout the years, and you can kind of see how they're written, and um, then going down like went down memory lane. Like it's kind of funny to see some of the ejections and the way I wrote reports. I found one from 2011. It was from I think it was from Caba, a Caba game. They ejected somebody, um, and then I had one last year. So the last game I worked at in ejection. So from that 15-year span, the kind of way that things work. So I took the names out. I think I took them all out. We're gonna do it's kind of look at the ejections, look at the report, and kind of talk about how it should be constructed, what you should say, what you should leave out, um, and just kind of what the process is to do this. Right? You'll hear people say, yeah, I would have ejected him. You ejected that coach, but I don't want to fill out the paperwork. Um, that's just not that's just you're not doing your duty. You're not doing what you're supposed to do as an umpire to do that, right? If something happens and a participant does something that should be an ejection, then it should be an ejection. There's going to be gray area because exactly what's said and that, what people think, and there's some gray. There's a lot of gray area in there. But to avoid, if there's something that's should be an ejection and you ignore it, then that is not, you're not doing your job at that point. So, all right. So those are my first two. So really what you should what you should write in the report, okay? They're objective, right? There's no emotion in it, in the reports. Um, really, you just give a timeline of the events. If you have a rule citation, you can put it in there, and then you should submit it. Probably the night you're done or first thing the next morning. Um, you should uh, you should submit those reports right away, right? Just get them done. The schools are waiting on them. There's going to be anytime you throw somebody out in a high school game, there's a 1 game suspension. So the first one here on the left, okay, in the top of the seventh, the assistant coach argued a ball 4 call from the dugout. He was given a verbal warning, then an official warning, and continued to argue. He was then ejected from the game. He was also given a warning in the bottom of the second for arguing a hit by pitch from the dugout. Okay, that's what, 2 sentences, right? Or 3 sentences, right? Give the part of the game, right? Top of the seventh. You can give the outs if you want, but the outs weren't pertinent to this. Um, where the assistant coach was from, right? You're going to say what team. You're going to actually put his name in there. Where it says assistant coach, it was his name, right? In the report, you got to select what school and who it was and what the name was and what the number was, all that stuff. But just kind of give a simple outline of what happened, right? So say what happened in that situation, what you did. You don't have to give quotations of what the coach said unless it's, you can see in the next one, it was, that's why they got ejected, right? Um, and say, just explain what happened, right? What's funny is both these ejections happened on May 31st, just 9 years apart or 8 years apart. So that was the first one. This last one is the one I had from the end of my last game last year in the region, and it was a regional championship game, right? Um, so this was, we see how close we were to being done. This is the home team batting at the bottom of the seventh, and the coach for this team had been riding me the entire game. We've had back and forth the entire game. Hasn't done anything to cross the line, but he's been ballet dancing on the line the entire game. It's like at this point, the game blew up at the top of the seventh. Like it was they were up 3-2, and now they're down 9-3. So we're trying to just go home, right, at this point. So bottom of the seventh with 2 outs and 0-1 counts, a pitch was thrown for a strike. For strike 2 to player. This is where I put the player's first and last name. Um, he left the batter's box and said that was inside. He then said, "You have been doing that shit all day." Okay, so that has to be addressed, right? Because he said he's pointing at me. He's saying we didn't point at me, but he's using you, right? That's the magic word, right? Um, so he's derogatory comment towards me, right? So, and then he uses language as well. So really, I could have in this situation I could have ejected him for that comment, right? Again, but situationally, we're 1 strike away from going home, right? We just need to be done, right? He took 2 pitches in a row on the inside corner, just same spot. Didn't like either one of them. After the second one, he said something. Okay, I gave him a warning. Said, "Hey, that's enough. That's your warning. That's all I said." I don't say that. I just, hey, I gave you. I warned him, right? And then he repeated, you've been doing that shit all day." Okay. He said something ejection worthy. I warned him. I decided to warn him. He repeats the same thing. I already told him he couldn't do that anymore. He says the same thing. What should I do? Right? What is my responsibility at that point? Right? Do I just let him do it again and be like, oh, stop doing this, your warning? I already crossed that line. So he was ejected, right? With 2 outs in the bottom of the seventh before the season ended, right? Um, and then so then he ejected him. Oh shoot, I forgot. Sorry, that forgot a name on that one, but he said to me twice after that. He said to me twice, "You're a bitch," right? That he was ejected. They probably don't have to say that, but that's if they want to suspend him more than a game, hey, this is unsportsmanlike conduct, right? So I wrote that report. The next day, I got a phone call from it was a 309 area code from Bloomington. It's like, oh, this will be interesting, right? It was that. It was Sam Knox from the HSA. He called because this kid's coach, this kid's dad is the head coach of the team, and he plays another sport in the fall, and he was going to be suspended for that game. And he shouldn't have been ejected, and I was biased the whole game, and the other team had a kid on the team that his son was on the team, and he did something that should have been ejected. It wasn't even as worse as that. Like just the whole what the hell, like the whole daddy ball coach try all everything they could say. So which is good is that Sam laughed it off, right? He goes, he said it was, I know Alan. I don't think Alan would have ejected somebody without a reason. And he defended me 100%. He just called me because he told him, hey, I'll talk to the umpire, gave him information, told him about how much of an ass that coach was the whole game. And so it was good. It's like, so that if you eject somebody, Sam Knox isn't going to take your schedule away because that was Alan McCormick when he was a young umpire. That man, if I throw this guy out, Jeff's never going to give me a game again, right? And it's just not how it is. If you work in a game for me and you eject somebody, as long as you do everything correctly, like you went through the process and you gave a warning. You don't have to necessarily give a warning, but you had some sense of like, here's what I should be doing. I'm trying to manage this, and it got out of control. I need to throw somebody out. I can defend you, right? If you do something you do something I can't defend, it's hard. It's hard. I'm going to try, right? But it's harder to defend you. So I have your back. I am your liaison, but um, you got to do something. I can't defend something you shouldn't be defended, right? So those are two more recent ones, I guess 2017 and 2025. So these are when I'm training people how to write them and I understood how to write them. So it's very short. They're both almost the same number of words, same number of lines, but very simple. What pertinent information? No emotion in there, nothing else. Just like here's the facts, here's what happens, and we're done. This one's a little bit longer, and hopefully this is also from a regional game. Seems like those are all the ejection reports I had. So if you want to read through that real quick. Um, so I'm on the bases on this play. Um, and there's a play at first base where the first baseman is stretching kind of towards the edge of the first base dugout, right? I'm right by the mound. I have a perfect look if you pull the foot or not. So there's a play at first base with a throw that took the first baseman all the base towards the first base dugout. I made a call of safe because so this is where like there's too much information in this one, right? Got too detailed on this. I made a call of safe because the first baseman was not so I called him off the base, right? Not in contact with the baseman. He caught the ball. The head coach came out to the dugout, walked over to me. He asked me to get help from my partner on the play. I told the head coach that I had a good look at the play and I was not going to go get help. The head coach said that the first baseman was a big kid and kept his foot on the bag, and I should have asked for help. I told the head coach again I was not going to get help. He then, in a raised voice, said, why do we have two umpires then? I told him that that was not that was enough. And he said, why would you not ask? I gave the head coach a warning, a official warning. He said, for what? And continued to argue the play. And I said the head coach's name. I warned you already. He then yelled, that's a terrible call. Then he said, that's two you missed today. Okay. Let somebody in here. He was then ejected from the game. Head coach went towards the dugout and then turned back and continued to yell from the foul line. But I did not hear what he said. Head coach went into the dugout, grabbed a bag, and left the field. What I didn't put in here is his bus that brought him to the game left, so he had nowhere to go, and he was sitting on a folding chair outside the outfield fence watching the game. And then he started communicating with people, and I had to go get the AD to go get him out and go somewhere else. And then the AD yelled at me. So on this one, um, I feel like I went through all the steps, right? Like you, Austin just pointed those: ignore, acknowledge, warn, eject. It was going through that process. It was a back and forth. This is way too much to put in a report. Okay, say all this should say is there's a play at first base. There's a safe call at first base for the first baseman pulling his foot. The head coach came out, argue argue the call and argue the call, asked me to get help. I said I'm not going to get help. He continued to argue. He was given a warning, continued to argue, and he was ejected. That's There's way too much information in this, right? You're not writing an essay, right? So again, this is a real report. I didn't edit any of the stuff besides the names, but this is too much, right? Go short, go simple process, simple things as you put it. All right, so this is from in July of 2011. Okay, this is when I was a newer. Let's say I started. No, I guess I've been around a while at this point. So this one, um, um, so summary with no outs and runners on first and second. There's a ground. Oh God, I'm terrible at typing too. There's a ground ball hit to the shortstop who threw the ball to second baseman for the first out. As the second baseman was throwing the ball to first base, the runner slid through the bag and made contact with the second baseman on the outfield side of second base and cleats to the shin. I called interference on the runner and called the batter out, batter runner out. Head coach came out to me and was yelling and gesturing. It was not interference, and he said that was fucking terrible, and he was ejected. Right. So this one, simpler, maybe a little extra information in there, but gave kind of what the play, um, keeping the play there. So, um, simple stuff. Don't say he used vulgar language towards me or anything like that. Actually put the words they said, right? It's swear words, but it's actually what they said, right? Don't be afraid to put in the report. It's an official report what they said because they need that context. So somebody in Bloomington's going to read this and be like, "What did he say?" They might have to call you, email you, ask you about it. Just put the words in there. Don't be afraid. And that was so 16-5 game in yeah. All right, so this next one. So a little context to this one. Okay, this was the first game of the season. First day we actually got out on the first day. Jeff had sent emails all winter long about trying to keep coaches in the game and game managing, and don't make sure you give warnings and all this stuff, right? And my first game of the year that year, I threw the head coach out. So this is one we'll go through it, but I'll kind of talk like what happened in the situation and why I took this. I kind of took a bullet for my partner on this play, right? So the situation happened at the bottom of the seventh, right after the Whitaker run scored for Boylan on the play at the plate. So this is not a Boylan player; it's the other team. So The visiting coach jogged towards the plate, began to argue with my partner, okay, who was the plate umpire. I was the base umpire. The head coach took his hat off and made a demonstration. God, I'm terrible. Gesture during the argument. This I'm proving I didn't edit this. This was me not proofreading. So demonstrative is what I was trying for. He took his hat off and swung it between him and the, standing away, swung it in between them. Um, he yelled, he yelled, "You've been killing us all day," towards my partner, then looked towards me. So I moving up, trying to get close to it, just to make sure, just to be in earshot, hear what happened, but not intervene, right? And I'm letting my partner handle it, trying to get him to get the hell out of there, right? Try to move out. Like there's no reason we're still here, right? The game's over. Handshake lines are waiting for this thing to stop. It's just go away, right? Just get off the field and run. Okay. Then he looked towards me, right? He had said something to me on a couple calls. He had something up his ass that day, and points at me and he goes and yelled, "Both of you have been killing us," and then swung his hat again between me or toward in my direction. Okay. I ejected him for unsportsmanlike conduct. Right. Simple. Like I'm not dealing. And he was shocked that I threw him out of the game. Right. So some context to this. This is this is two schools that don't like their that play every year, beginning of the season, are kind of rival. They're not in the same conference, but they do play every year. They're kind of rivalry that way. This coach, I knew from this time. He used to be an assistant. He was a head coach and assistant coach at a junior college. I worked a ton of their games, got to know him, shot the shit with him in between games. Um, this was his first game coaching this team ever, first game ever coaching a high school team. Um, and his team blew the game, right? So um, they're up by, I think they're up by two, and there's a pop up. The bases are loaded. There's a pop up in right field in the triangle tier between first baseman, second baseman, and the right fielder. High pop up, and all of a sudden it just drops. And it was 2 outs. Everybody was circling. Um, the runner, 2 run score. The runner that was on first is running home. Ball beats him by a lot, right? Um, and my partner calls him safe. So I don't. It doesn't even matter. Was he out? Was he safe? He obviously that coach thought he was out. My partner thought he was safe. Um, and that's when the confrontation happened. Leading up to that, he is screaming and yelling and gesturing and towing the line all day long. He came out to me um, on a play. It was just a simple play at first. It was close, but I called him out. Came out to me um, and trying to tell me I was out of position. And I just told him, say, hey, we're not talking about mechanics, right? You don't know the mechanics. We're not talking about this. Go back to the dugout, right? I knew him well enough to say, hey, you're an idiot. Get the hell out of here, right? But he was, he's kind of trying to big league us all day. He was on my partner about the strike zone the entire time. I don't think my partner ever addressed it. So like he was struggling that day, right? And then this play just go on top of it, right? There should have been ejection at some point throughout this whole process, and very much so at the end here. I was not going to jump in and just take it, right? But as soon as that coach addressed me, it's like, oh, that's enough, and get out of here, right? The part I didn't leave in here is he came up to me and he tried to argue the ejection, and I had to let him have it, right? Because of our history, and I knew him. It's like this is not what happens in high school baseball, right? You're not going to do this. You're not going to big league your dice. You're setting a terrible example for your players. You need to figure this out. And then my partner and I walked away, right? Next time I saw him, he gave me a hug like I was his brother or something, and he was all happy and go lucky and on, right? But it doesn't matter. Like I could give him slack because I know him and I was friendly with him, but you can't, right? Because I know if I don't set the tone with him that day, then he's going to do that to all the other umpires all year, right? So we're going to teach him a lesson day one and handle the situation like we should. and then he won't be able to do that again. And he'll have pressure not to do that again. He's got to answer to his principal and his AD about why he did this and got ejected, right? All that stuff. So the report itself, this is just basic stuff. Like I didn't go into a lot of the other stuff because it didn't really involve me. But on this situation, this is why. Never got a question on this one. Except for Kyle's giving me crap for throwing somebody out on the first day after being told not to throw anybody out or try to be kinder and gentler. But it doesn't even matter. He deserved the ejection. He was given a chance, ample chance. Then he was thrown out. God, reading these reports get me all fired up again. All right, so this one, in the top of the seventh inning, number 25 batter was called out on a failed check swing attempt. After he was called out, he held the bat in the strike zone and said, "I didn't swing. This is where it was." I told him that was enough and to go back to the dugout. He took a step and said, "That's bullshit." He was then ejected. Yeah, so he was on Bartlett. I don't even have any recollection of this ejection, even a little bit. Bartlett had been given a team warning about arguing balls and strikes in the bottom of the second and in the top of the fourth inning. So we had gone through the progression, okay, of hey, that's enough. Hey, cut it out, and then hey, this happens, right? Player doesn't not get to say that's bullshit to you directly to you, or in general where you can hear it, right? Um, I say I don't remember anything from this, the actual situation, but simple things, simple, saying the actual swear word that he said, the reason why he threw him out, and then give pertinent information like, hey, they were arguing balls and strikes throughout the game, so there've been interactions between me and their bench throughout the game. All right, so this is my one NC or one college ejection I've ever had. This game was at Harper College, but it was not the Harper College coach I threw out. That coach wasn't asked that day as well, but he didn't do anything to get thrown out. So, um, so top of the fifth inning, Mr. Head Coach approached me and told me I wasn't that he wasn't arguing balls and strikes. So it was after a strike three call, and he's walking out to me. It's like, hey, we're talking about, like, I tried to stop him, right? And he said, "Oh, I'm not arguing balls and strikes." Like, whatever, then we'll talk, right? But he had a comment for he wasn't arguing balls and strikes, but he had a comment for me. He told me that strike three call for the second out in the top of the fifth. So right away he's arguing balls and strikes, right? Was the incorrect and the pitch was low. I told him that we're not going to discuss the strike zone. He then said that it was set up too far from the catcher and there's no way I can see that pitch. I told him I was not going to discuss plate mechanics with him, and we're not going to talk about the strike zone. As he was walking back so then he walked away. As he was walking back to the dugout, he stated that I lacked coachability and that I needed to be better. I warned the head coach by saying that's enough, and we're not discussing your strike zone any further. After the first two pitches to the batter in the bottom of the fifth inning, both called balls, the head coach began to clap his hands and yelled, "That's not a college strike zone." He was then ejected from the game. He left with no further incident.
Alan, are these all your ejections?
These are real. Yeah, this is live.
Oh,
This
but
is
these are your ejections?
yeah. This was
Oh
me April
man,
30th, Harper versus Rock Valley College.
I thought you were a good Christian man and didn't do that stuff.
This is all the ones I could find. I'm sure there's more. So, all right, so this is your chance. Critique the situation, right? What should I have done differently? Okay. Because I don't think I handled in the end, I think I got it right, but I don't think I handled the situation as good as I could have. So what was the problem here? What should I have done differently?
Like, hey, Alan, question on your college ejection. Did you, because I've had this happen before to me too, and I've gotten called from my supervisor saying, did you give him an official warning on that kind of a thing? Like, you're supposed to say official NCAA warning, like the rule book states now?
I think it was before that came in.
Oh, so this is an older one?
This is an older one. This is probably, if I would guess, this is 10 or 12 years ago.
Right, because I was thinking at that part where he was still, when you told him that's enough, that's when you would actually say, "This is your official NCAA warning, blah blah blah" kind of thing.
Yes. No,
There.
so yeah, that wasn't a thing then. So
Okay. All right.
not as official as it is now, right?
Right.
It was just you should have given him a warning.
Yeah, because now anytime you do an gesture report for college, they want you to put that in there if you issued it.
Yep. So yeah, so I think so critique wise, like I gave him too much of a chance to be there, right? He's already pot shotting me from the dugout here and there. But like how many times they say we're not talking about the strike zone, we're not talking about the strike zone, we're not talking about the strike zone, and we continue to talk about the strike zone, right? So looking back on this, it was I should have shut it down sooner and got him away. Um, and really saying you lack coachability. Those are personal comments, right? So like that all needs to he should have been he shouldn't have been given the chance to clap at me sarcastically and yell at me then in that inning, right? I think this interaction should have been an ejection.
But
Uh,
would you have like thought about like, okay, let's say it was, I know you're saying it's far back, but more of today's terms of of the college thing, would you
yep.
have given him that warnings a lot sooner? Like maybe that coachability line, or as he kept on saying about the strike zone.
Yeah, I think as he approached me to argue, once he actually started talking about the strike zone after he said he wasn't going to, I think that's kind of because he's leaving his position to argue balls and strikes, right? And that is a big no-no. So I think that's what like I would have said, nope, that's your official warning. You need to go back to the dugout, right? And if he doesn't, then if he continues, then gets ejected. I think that's how I would handle it, just because it's the same if he I called because I called strike three on his batter, right? And he comes out and he's trying to low key argue it, but it's the same as if you would have just come out and argued it, right? So
Right.
looking back, I think I would have given an official warning as soon as he brought up the strike zone as he approached me once he was there. And if he didn't turn around right away, then he would have been like turned around and went back to the dugout, and I think I would have thrown him out.
And now if we go on the high school rule book with this kind of a thing, if he was to say that coachability stuff or something like that, would you immediately eject or restrict him to the dugout, in your opinion?
I think I would handle the same. So this is an aside. Like I struggle to restrict people to the dugout. Um, that's my own like I just don't I've never seen it work well, right? So like I'll skip the hey, I'll give the official warning. I probably would have done this, hey, that's your official warning. I don't know if I would restrict him to the dugout or not. I'm trying to get there. I haven't been there yet in my career to be able to do it. Not saying it's wrong. It just I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me. Putting somebody that's angry and locking them in the dugout, and they don't know what it really means to be restricted to the dugout, and then they're coming out and you're policing it, and you're causing confrontation by telling them, "Hey, you can't come out of the dugout at all." Like, there's a lot of stuff that plays into it, but I think just simply handling it, I would have same thing when he came out. Hey, that's your warning. If he doesn't turn around right away, if he continues to go, then he's thrown out. I don't know if there's a lot of. I don't think I would. And again, I haven't worked a college game in probably 10 years, in probably 7 or 8 years at least. So I don't know. I'm not up on all that stuff, but yeah, I don't think I don't see how I would handle it differently. Um, maybe you give a say almost maybe give the high school coach a little more rope because they don't understand. Maybe they don't understand it as well as a college coach. College coaches know they can't do that, and if they do that, they're going to get ejected. So it seems like they should. It seems like there's more I don't know, there's more expectation for understanding that stuff in the college level. At least when I was working it, I don't know if it's changed at all. But yeah, high
I've
school, I would handle the same way. So yeah, Jeff, what were you thinking? Could you?
No, well, luckily, like I was just thinking more of the like the restrictions with the dugouts and that kind of thing, because I know now, luckily, I didn't have to deal with this any in my first year up here last year, but a couple of times in Florida, I've done it where I've restricted coaches, and I realized it's something where it actually kept them in the game, and they shut their mouth after I put them in there. Like I had one coach, I probably could have gone right to the ejection on it, and I probably would have then gotten my ear torn off by the state. That's how Florida was. They didn't. This is the main reason they put it in down there. Like a coach, there was a close play at third base on a steal play. A coach comes out, gets him in my partner's face, and he yells as he's walking back, yells at me, and you should have called that a strike. And that's when I gave him his warning and put him in the dugout right then. And then he was a gentleman, let's call it, the rest of the game. Now I did let him come out one time and one other time because it was a sportsmanship issue, which he handled a lot more professionally than he did.
Yeah.
And then the worst kind of coaches I come across where I feel like I got to be more tougher on them are the ones that were the ex-players.
Yeah.
I had a guy, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of a guy, Odeby McDowell. I think he played, I forgot who he played for in there.
Texas,
Yeah, I think you're right.
Texas Rangers.
Yep.
Yep, center fielder.
Yep. He coaches down in South Florida, a couple schools. I've had my run-ins with him plenty of times. He wanted he was arguing the balk rule with me between high school and MLB because we had to take away a double from a kid because we yelled balk in there. So he wouldn't go crazy. He goes, no, 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 that play counts, everything else. Like I'm like, no, to be it doesn't there. And he kept on going on, and I had to put him in the dugout to stop him. That's the only way I was able to stop him. So that's how I feel about putting him in the dugout. I haven't had experience up here yet. I was just going back in the past. So that's my thinking of that.
Yeah, it's for me, it's like it's something I should do. Like I should not ignore it like that. But um yeah. So that it's a personal thing, and it should happen. Like if you give an official warning, they should be put in the dugout. Um I struggle with it. And
We've actually had umpires get called from the state and go to them. Why did you not put them in the dugout? Why did you go right to the ejection?
yeah.
Now there was one where the coach was already coaches from the dugout, so that's what he told him. So what's the point of it, anyways?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, our state. So Sam Knox is, people don't know, he is an umpire. He's been a baseball umpire for years. He works a full schedule of games as he's still the IHSA administrator. So he's very much um, understands how things work and what we do. And so I don't think I would ever see him do that. Like say, why didn't you do this? Maybe he gets enough of me. Probably he doesn't have a time to spend much time on them anyway. But if he did have a question about it, he wouldn't call you and ask you why did you do that. It's either at that point for him it would be that's in the past. It doesn't matter anymore, right? But
mm-hmm.
we have an advantage having Sam as our administrator for baseball. So
Yep, that always does help.
yep. Yeah, in this game too, the other part is that the coach that got ejected was winning 12-0 at that time. They're about to This is the bottom of the fifth, and it's about to be a 10-run rule. They're playing a doubleheader, so playing 2 sevens and 10 after 5. So this game was almost over. Then he got ejected, then they had to sit out the second game of the doubleheader. All right, so that's it for the ejections. If you have one and you need help writing it, reach out to an umpire, reach out to somebody and say, hey, does this look right? If you eject somebody in one of the games that I assign you, let me know that it happened. You can send me your report, like kind of just give me a heads up because I may get a call about it, and I don't like to be blindsided on it. If I have a heads up, like, hey, you text me and say, hey, I had an ejection today, this happened, and then send me a report later on. Then if I get a call from a coach, at least I'll know what happened, right? So I'll be able to help defend you and say what you say. So if you have one, just let me know. Again, if you go through the process, you ignore, acknowledge, warn, eject, you go through the steps and do everything you can, or that's I can I can tell them, hey, you did it by the book, like you did exactly by the book. There's no reason you're upset about this. A lot of times though, I only had it happen once, but a coach requests the umpire not to come to the game again, or they get all worked up and say, if you haven't been told you're never working here again, you're not a real umpire yet. You're never working at my field again. Everybody's going to get that eventually, but that doesn't mean for them, like, honestly, there's not enough umpires to say, hey, I don't want this guy to ever come back again, because we need to get along, right? And It will it'll happen eventually. It'll happen to you, but don't
Or the
situation by situation. So
best one is I'm calling Jeff. I'm calling Jeff.
yep, yeah, and they're just being an ass, right? Um, like I already know I can't send Tim to Huntley anymore because they don't want him there. But I mean that was Jeff just told me that on the side. Tim doesn't know that, and I just don't send him there. So same with Chocolate. It's Chris Lake South. They said they've had enough. So um, so next, so we're done with the ejection side. Scott's trying to unmute his microphone. He can't figure it out though. So financial administration. So as soon as you start working games, start a spreadsheet up and start tracking your mileage, start tracking your game fees. You're going to need that for tax time, right? So one it's for tracking, did I get paid for this game, right? That's your you need that because it's going to happen where you don't get paid, or it's going to take a long time and you're going to forget about it. You're going to get paid twice, and all of a sudden that school's going to be like, hey, we overpaid you, you need to send that money back, right? um, all those things. If you're on top of, hey, I haven't got paid yet for this game, or I did get paid for this, I put it in there to keep track of it. What it does at the end of the year, tax time, you're able to track that money. You're able to know what you made, and then you can match that up with the different 1099s that you get. And then when you do your taxes, you have that all information there. Track your mileage because all that's deductible, right? Mileage to the games, there and back is all deductible, right? So keep track of that for tax purposes, so you know. Because by the time you like now, if you're going to do your taxes now and you go to the FVB website to pull up your game schedule, it's not there anymore, right? It gets wiped out in October, so you need to have that written down and export it out there so you know, right? And just keep track of everything. So as you buy equipment, keep track of all that. As you buy buy new plate shoes, you buy a new mask. That's all equipment that you can deduct, right? Some of your expenses to be an umpire, you should, again, this is not tax advice, but you need to deduct your part of your cell phone bill. You can deduct some of your internet plan. There's different things that you can, and those are all real expenses that you have to have the cell phone to be an umpire. You have to have the internet to be an umpire, right? Just the way they're all assigned. So can't deduct all of it, but you can deduct. It could potentially be a deduction for you as you go.
Al, what kind of percentages are you talking about?
Enough to make it look like I didn't make any money last year. Is that the right answer or no?
Yeah.
I said I don't want to tell you one way or the other because I don't want to be blamed or be privy on a lawsuit. But yeah, so like Dale said, your IHSA license fee, your FUB dues, all that can be deducted. So if you buy insurance through NASO, liability insurance, that all that, anything you spend on being an umpire can be. Your mileage to the clinic and back, you don't get paid for that, but that is, you're going for training, so that can, there and back can be yeah. So there's a lot of stuff you can do, but make sure you start right away tracking that stuff, because if you try to pull it all together on April 14th, you're going to miss something. That's the one side of umpiring that you're not, um it's just different, right? It's especially when you're first time through, it's like it's completely different of what you normally do. And a lot of us are not accountants, so it makes it harder to do. So get ahead of it and track that stuff ahead of time so be ready for tax season. So risk management. So some of this stuff, when you're at a game, and what are you going to do if you get lightning, right? What are you going to do if the field becomes unplayable? what does the IHSA say about what you're supposed to do in those situations, right? Um, IHSA it's pretty simple. If you see lightning or hear thunder, it's a 30-minute delay from the last one of those you see, right? Right before this presentation, there sounded like a lightning bolt hit something in my backyard, right? It can come out on random times. But if you see lightning or hear thunder, you got it's the protocol is that you have to clear the field, right? There's no such thing as heat lightning, right? If you see lightning in the clouds, there's flashes that's lightning that could, if you could see it, it could hit you, it could kill somebody, right? Um, so don't mess around with that. People get mad about that, about the lightning. It's so far away and it's heat lightning, it's cloud to cloud. Like you'll hear all this bullshit, right? About what it is. Your job is, hey, it's lightning, we clear the field. They don't get to stay in the dugout. They gotta go somewhere, right? So if there's weather in the area, um, that's something you confirm with the head coach. Be like, hey, if we get lightning, where do we go? Where are we gonna, and they should have a plan. It might be walk 500 yards to the school and go inside. There might be a a maintenance shed, something, some bigger maintenance shed that everybody can fit in closer to the field, but there's got to be a structure, right? Can't be the dugout like Sycamore High School. Last year, the storm, they weren't playing at their field, but their field, there's a big wind gust and it took the dugout away. So, like, it's not safe to be in there. Or East Aurora, many years ago, lightning hit the dugout and burned the dugout down. So it's not safe to be on the field or in the dugout. Got to be in a structure. Um, Field conditions, even darkness, right? Those are the those are the harder ones, right? So what do you do with how do you decide when it's not safe to play on the field anymore? Before the game starts, it's not your decision, right? It's up to the head coach or the home team or whoever's in charge for them to decide if you're gonna play that game or not based on the field conditions. Okay. Once the game starts, um, it's 100% on the umpires to decide if we're playing or not. It's
Hey Al, can I jump in there a second?
Yeah,
So when it comes to light, darkness, and stuff like that, have a plan going into the game. A good rule of thumb
hey,
is
Timmy, hold on a second. Let me
yeah,
finish my
buddy.
thought on that, and then you can jump into
Yeah, go ahead.
darkness is the next thing. So conditions with rain. So you're looking at um, can the pitcher pitch the ball? Can the batter swing? Can they run? Is it too sloppy around? Is those are the things you're looking for. If the ball is slipping out of the hands as they're pitching and they can't throw it over the plate, if the bat slides out of the batter's hands, those kind of things you could talk with your partner, be on the same page. You can make it a discussion like with the coaches. What do they think? Those kind of things you can go there. Darkness. Tim's going to talk about that in a second, but the field conditions itself, like those are tougher decisions. But it's really is the field. Can the players play the game the way it was supposed to be played, even with the conditions? So darkness, yes. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so darkness, especially in the early part of season, March, early April. Um, Good judge of time is find out when your sunset is going to happen, and then target like 15 to almost 30 minutes back from there, and kind of start using that as a gauge for when you have play time, if you will, and then try to figure out if it's going to end, and it's going to end. Try to figure out where you can end it at a point where the game is, not on the lopsided part of the inning or it's at the end of an inning. So it could be either easily picked up later or, you know, called at that point. That's a good rule of thumb right there. And that's also going to go along with um, what the clouds are doing and so on and so forth and how the sun is setting. And for God's sake, do not let the coach or parents talk you into staying or playing, because if one of those kids gets drilled in the side of their head from a line drive that they can't see, somebody's going to be asking you questions, and that's the last thing that you want. I just want to touch on lightning real quick. If you hear it, it's happening, right? So just get off the field, tell the coaches that they have to clear the area, like Alan said, and then it's on to them. Pro tip: when you walk away from the field, try to at least get the home team's coach's phone number, especially when there's rain coming. So that way you don't have to get out of your car when it pours for the next 35 to 40 minutes. And then they can call you and say, hey, the game is over. And then you could drive home at least semi dry. That's Tim's tip for the day with weather and darkness.
Yeah, so with the darkness, just to add on to that. So with darkness, never project, like never tell anybody it's like, hey, we're gonna do one more half inning and then we're done. We're gonna do another inning and then we're done. Because it backs you into the corner, right? You say, hey, we're gonna finish the bottom half of this inning, right? And then the game is over. And all of a sudden there's 5 walks and pitching change and it gets dark. And then you call it and say, hey, we're done. And they go, hey, you said we're gonna finish the inning, right? Don't give it away, right? Just when it's too dark to play, say we're done. Hey, we're done. Also, then the other way is, hey, we're going to play this half an inning, and then we're done. And all of a sudden, the clouds go away, and the sun comes out. Now it's brighter than it was when you said we're going to go, and now we're walking away. So just decide. You can have conversations with your partner. You can have a conversation with yourself, right? I'll ask the catcher, are you seeing the ball okay? There's a lot of things you can do, but I think calling for darkness is hard, especially for the other teams, because they look at situations and then that turns into, hey, are we completing this inning? Is this an official game? Now those runs we scored in the top half don't count. So all that stuff, right? Don't get into that. When it's not safe to play, we're done. We're going home, right? And just keep going, right? But calling a game for darkness is gonna be the hardest thing you do, because it's subjective, right? It's very, I don't know. It's hard, right?
So Jeff Solomon and I were a victim of the darkness that turned into light, and we walked off the field after we called the game, and it kind of got lighter out, but it was it was our call, and we just kind of stuck with it, and we went with it. I mean, we wouldn't have probably played more than another 15 or 20 more minutes, but that kind of, pardon my French, shit happens, and you just gotta move on with it.
But do you feel that you can at least have the conversation with the coach as as not necessarily say, hey, yeah, looks like we're only going to get one more inning or this or that, but start like bringing it up to him as we're getting closer, that hey, we're going to keep an eye on we're getting towards losing daylight here. Just so you don't spring it on the coach. Always, hey, no, we're calling it now.
Yeah, yes, those things happen, right? It's not that you're getting input, right? It's like, if they ask, just don't give them an answer of, hey, we're going to try to finish this inning or try to finish this half inning. It's, hey, it's getting dark, it's getting close, right?
Right.
So they know that you're thinking about it. But also, this could happen in the middle of like, you have a really long inning and all of a sudden, shit, it's dark and we haven't talked to anybody, but the ball is hitting right center and the center fielder runs to left center. Like, ish, he didn't see that, right? That's probably a quick clue of, hey, we're done, we're getting out of here. Equipment compliance. We used to do bat checks and bat and helmet checks. Thankfully, those things are gone. The onus is on the teams to worry about that. But so that's why that disclaimer statement in the beginning, in in the beginning of your in your plate meeting, is, are players properly equipped? That takes all liability off of you. That's why we say it. We did have a question from Todd Ramberg. How many schools don't have lights? I would say there's probably only a handful of schools that do have lights on their baseball fields. I know Johnsburg just redid their field. McHenry, they'll play some night game. They'll actually play some 6:30 start games. Um, but I would say majority. I don't know. I don't think any schools in Rockford have lights, um, unless they play like at a park or something. They usually don't. Like I would say, I don't think any of the Fox Valley schools do either, or Kishwaukee schools. Besides Johnsburg, because they just redid their field. So
And McHenry, no, that's a no on McHenry.
oh, they didn't put lights on their new field.
No,
Right.
unless they play over at Peterson.
Yeah, and I mean the
Yeah.
sophomore team plays at Peterson still, so they may, I don't know. I don't think they're playing any night sophomore games, or if they're even able to turn the lights on. But so yeah, so that's one less school. So Johnsburg's the only one I know
Plays
of.
at Wheaton, or if a team plays at Wheaton College.
Yeah.
We had one there last year. We had to start at 8 o'clock at night because the college game for the day before got rescheduled.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think Todd's going to go to Wheaton College for a game. He lives in Harvard, so it's a little it's a long drive. So, all right. So in injury documentation, there is one spot where if you have a player that has a head injury in your game, gets hit, you whatever it is, like you hit with a pitch or get kneed in the head or whatever, and there's possibly of a concussion, you're required to report that. There's a spot in the um, Bristol's dashboard where you fill that out and say this player got a concussion at this time of the game. There was a trainer on site that took care of them, or I'm not even sure. I've never done it before, but if you have one, that you're supposed to fill that out. We're having a little bit of discussion about your phone um, on the field. That's that I would say that's an evolving thing, right? 10 years ago, like I don't take it on the field, right? But situations like Jen said, right? She's working by herself, and you got crazy people, and they're following. So I would think that would be okay. Like you should never use your phone on the field, right? There should be never a time when you're checking the weather, you're checking your text message, checking your email. Um, but I think it's become, with the climate, with crazies in the world, um, having your phone on you, especially if you're parked far away from the field, or there's a lot of different things where, for me, I think it's to the point where it's acceptable to have it but not use it, um, because of those safety things, right? Because of what we've seen so much there. But again, you should not. But I think what Austin and Jen's comments, if you're looking in the comments, they don't, to me, they don't conflict, right? Austin is saying you should never use really say not have your phone with it, but you're really not, so you shouldn't use it because it looks like shit, right? And Jen saying there's safety reasons why I do take it. So those are I wouldn't say the two sides of it, but those are the two thoughts of what should be done with your phone when it's on. So I don't take it. I don't know. I just never had. I was trained not to do it, and I don't do it. For me now, working games, people are trying to call me and trying to text me and trying to email me about their games. And the one when I'm working games, I don't have to deal with that shit. So it gives me a little time not to do it. Um, but if you feel like it's a safety thing, put it in your ball bag, put it in your back pocket, and don't use it. But yeah, you shouldn't be. There shouldn't be a time when you're on your phone during the game unless somebody's threatening you. So
I know I was behind the plate one time and ball came up that was in the dirt, hit me in the pocket and broke my phone.
yeah, that's the other chance you got too. So yeah, that's why I said put it in your back pocket. Don't put anything in your ball bag you don't that you care about, right? I had a Fitbit on one. And one time, and it saved me from getting hit in the wrist. Like it bounced off the Fitbit instead of my wrist. So that was the one thing that saved me. But yeah, that's anything that's on you has a chance of getting broken. So Jeff, you got a question?
Yeah, the only time I may take my phone with me is because my work it changed, like the schedule changes, and then I get a game scheduled and I'm on call that week. I hate that. I try to avoid that, but that's when I keep my phone on vibe, just in case, I get a call from work when I'm on call. That's the only issue.
Okay. Yeah, there's certain things, right? Like we had to stop a game once when there was I was working a men's league game, and all of a sudden the third baseman during the game called time and then pulls his phone out of his pocket and starts talking on it. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? And I like started like going over, like trying to address it, and the pitcher goes, "Hey, he's an orthopedic surgeon, so like he's got to have his phone on him all the time." It's like, oh, okay, that was a exception to it, but um, majority of the time it is, don't have you if you have your phone, you're not using it. Um, Best thing to do is leave it in your car if you can. But if you feel there's a safety issue, then you can have it. So
Yeah, I always take my phone because I'm diabetic and I like to check the blood sugar levels every 2 to 3 innings, just discreetly, but there's another reason to do it.
yeah, like it's a medical thing. That falls in the safety line, right? Um, it just you shouldn't be talking like you shouldn't be sending a test message, checking Facebook or checking your email. Like it's the problem is like for me, if I have my phone on me, I can be so tempted to look at it and be distracting me that it's better for me if I just leave it alone and leave it out in the car. But yeah, there's exceptions to it. Um, Wayne asked a question. Are there time limits on lower level games? Not that there's no conference that has told me that or that I've heard that has lower level time limits. Um, so I wouldn't, yeah, like Austin said, I wouldn't expect it. Sometimes they do, but I'd say most of the time they're just going to play until dark. So, all right. Yeah. So where's the other question? There's a question about, so if you have a question here, are as officials are we are not to say that a player had a guy concussion, rather, yes. So if there's a head injury, you say, you don't have to say anything about a concussion, but if there's a head injury, you're supposed to report it. Doesn't happen a lot in baseball as much as the other sports. We used to did that all the time when I worked football, but baseball, yeah, there was a head injury in this game. It's more for tracking purposes for the IHSA for their concussion protocol. They have a committee that the blanking on the name now, but it's a um, like they actually have like physicians and stuff to talk about the like safety and health of athletes. So I think that's it for the presentation. Yep, that was the last slide. So um just kind of wrap this stuff up. There's a lot to officiating that's not actually officiating games, right? Not actual being an umpire and doing the traditional stuff. But all this stuff is important too, right? This is good stuff to think about and be ready for, so it doesn't catch you off guard, right? Um, but again, there's stuff this is going to become second nature as you work more games and experience these things. But there are also things that if you go to work your first game and it's a freshman game and it's 6:45 on March 17th, like it's going to be dark, right? So it's a real thing that we got to worry about. It's not as bad, and it's not as bad as it used to be because the time changed, right? They changed the time when the time changes, so it's a little better than it used to be early in the season. But if anybody's out there working softball games, I think they start a week before. Um, they start a week earlier than baseball does now, so I think March 9th is the first day of games. If they can get them in, and it's going to be dark early, so be ready for that. Be ready for the rain. Um, be ready for what to do after you have an ejection. Like all that stuff is real, and you got to deal with it. So again, reach out to somebody that knows know stuff, that is has experience and ask questions and bounce them off. We will. Um, that's funny, Todd. Now you distracted me, but we're gonna have sessions during the year called virtual post games, especially for the guys that have situations that they don't know they don't have a partner. We'll have these calls. They're 8 o'clock on Thursday nights, and we'll talk through that stuff. So, um, that's all I got. Todd brought up a blast from the past from high school, where our coach reamed me out for um, shaking him off and throwing a knuckleball, and the guy hit a home run, and we lost the game. Thanks for bringing that. That hurts, Todd. It's funny though. All right, that's all I got. Have a good night, and hopefully we'll see you on Saturday at the clinic. Oh, so one thing before you go, the plan originally was to do the test review session on March 5th, but we have Dave Condon coming that night. He's a Division One baseball umpire, FVB member, and he has a hole in the schedule where he can come in and talk to us. And so I gave him that night to talk. So I was going to move it to next week, but next week we have another guest speaker. We're going to have Leo Delat on the call. Leo he came in as as a JVB umpire as a 16-year-old, I believe, maybe 15 even. Worked his way up. Worked a regional. He worked a regional his first year as an umpire as a senior in high school. And then he went to pro school and got hired to start start as a professional umpire this year. So he's going to come and talk to us next week. So it's gonna be stay tuned on the night that we do the call for the test. It's probably going to be March 12th, which I know is close to the deadline, but we will get it in before the test is due. So the last session we do a part one test review session. So that will be, I believe, March 12th, but stay tuned and we might do it on a different night. So, all right, that's all I got. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week or on Saturday.
Thank you.
What time is the clinic on Saturday?
Check-in is at 8, and the first session starts at 9.
Okay. And how long does it typically run?
We'll be done at 1:30.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, I'll set agenda's coming tomorrow morning. So,
All right.
Thank you.
yep, thank you.
Good. You got anything?
Talking to me.
Hey,
Yeah,
Alan.
who else would I be talking to?
Sound like Bill Vincent. What
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, do you have a number for that? You said that Alan Paul guy wanted to help me out at the
Yeah.
clinic in Belvedere. Do you have a number for him, or
Let me look it up.
you can email it to me or text me when you
Yeah,
have
I'll
time?
text it to you. Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have it in my phone, but I'll text it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I confirmed with the AD today. The cages will be there. They have pitchers and catchers coming. So
Okay.
yeah,
Perfect. Well,
did we just